A commercial hub in Dorchester is at a crossroads between opportunity and displacement. The Bowdoin Geneva Main Streets program wants to maximize the opportunity without harming the current businesses. Part of the strategy is to help more of those businesses handle customers who pay electronically. To tell us about the effort is the executive director of the Main Streets program, Anh Nguyen. Thank you very much for being with us, Anh.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I mentioned this was in Dorchester. Talk about the neighborhood around this business center.
So the businesses are serve the local community. The local community is brown and black, largely Cape Verdean. So the businesses are brown and black businesses. So you'll find Cesaria, that's a full-service restaurant, Cape Verdean restaurant, and then you also find a lot of barbershops that cater to black hair. And you also find African hair braiding stores, Dominican stores, cell phone stores, things that cater to the local residents around it.
Now, for a long time, people have looked at this either as an immigrant neighborhood or a neighborhood that's rather poor. How is this changing now?
Well, we're getting a lot of property owners that are coming in and buying up the buildings, and therefore we have to help a lot of the businesses expand their market base. For example, we have a barbershop that his rent is increasing by $700. His name is Johnny. He was actually in the paper. So to make up for that lost rent, we have to figure out how can he generate more revenue or increase his market base. And increasing his market base would be to diversify the way he gets money. So we figured that the first step is to try to get them to accept credit. And maybe that will expand their market base because a lot of the people in the neighborhood are under 40. And a lot of people under 40 like to carry credit. And also it's a safety issue in the neighborhood. We don't have banks. So we don't want our business owners to have a lot of cash on hand. And if they handle credit card payments more, then they would be less susceptible to theft.
When I go to barbershops, I still pay and tip in cash, but you know, I'm not that young anymore either. So talk about the younger people, including people right in this neighborhood, and how they do business.
I think that a lot of the people in the neighborhood are smartphone friendly. The kids are. They're very. If you see the users, if you break it down by ethnic demographic, you'll see that black users actually have a higher propensity for social media marketing. But they also, now with younger people, they like to use online payment forms more, and you know, we're just trying to follow the trend. So there's a lot of people under 40 in the neighborhood. A lot of students are moving in, but also the kids who learn to deal with that way. And it's just getting the community to practice, because there is a digital divide. Just get them to practice so that they can have more cultural competency in terms of reaching out to the larger community that uses technology.
And of course, even just among people who want their hair done, you know, it's become common that, well, you got to book an appointment online.
Yeah.
You know, don't even call us.
Yeah, it helps. Technology will help also streamline their businesses, and it's going to help them analyze their business more too. So we hope that by giving them technology, we can show them, like, these are your best times, these are best hours. So by selling this retail inventory, you'll make more money. So it's part of a whole process by getting them to be practitioners of technology.
Well, as a first step, you're trying to help some of these businesses get some financial support for switching to electronic payments. You've got a funding campaign going on. So explain how that's supposed to work.
Oh, so it just ended, but we're always accepting donations. We received a grant from the Boston Main Streets Foundation to purchase Square registers, and we focus on Square right now because they have the category that we need, which is barbershops and salons. And so they're devices that are portable. You can bring it to the chairs and have people pay that way. And so we want to give these to the barbershops and hair salons to incentivize them, but also give them a little subsidy to pay for the connection to online the internet if they don't have that. So this fundraising campaign was supposed to help purchase that and also subsidize the internet.
This has been BNN News, and we're talking with Anh Nguyen from the Bowdoin Geneva Main Streets program. Anh, last year, Main Streets program commissioned a study by some graduate students at MIT, and one of the things you were looking at was the missing businesses, things that could thrive there, maybe the people in the neighborhood might need. What did they come up with?
We need more restaurants. Restaurants are great economic catalysts and arts and entertainment. So though the barbershops, we have 12 in the neighborhood, and we have 12 because the immigrants that are there aren't trained and educated to go into different services. So they train and educate each other on hair. And so we are just getting more barbershops. We actually, a landlord just signed another hair salon to move into the neighborhood, and which is unfortunate because that just is telling that the community needs to be educated to move into different job categories so that they can be self-sufficient. But the MIT study showed that we need more arts and entertainment and more restaurants. Restaurants are economic catalysts, as I mentioned, and it would great neighborhoods have a lot of restaurants. So if we had more, if we changed the built environment to accommodate restaurants in the neighborhood, we could hire a lot of people from the neighborhood. We need about 1,000 jobs.
Well, of course, one of the stumbling blocks here, you got a built environment that's fairly old. There was problems recently with a sewage connection. So, I mean, that's a struggle for people. Yeah,
half of Boston's land base isn't taxable. And our property owners, we have a high home ownership rate in the neighborhood. We have a 36% home ownership rate. They pay taxes, and we should we hope to get some more investment improving the streets, the streetscape, and also the basic infrastructure of the neighborhood so that there could be better investment to increase the economic activity of the neighborhood.
And of course, one thing you don't have much of is a place where people can just sort of sit down and just sort of maybe relax a little bit. I mean, you either go into a business or move on, right?
Yeah. So our barbershops and hair salons are actually community spaces. This is where people gather to see each other and talk to each other and talk about politics and what's going on. But if we had bigger commercial spaces, we could accommodate sit down conversations, coffee shops, bakeries, things where people can gather and see each other. So we have, part of the study was also to see what kind of community spaces we can build in the neighborhood, and we hope to encourage the development of Geneva Cliffs, a community space where people can, perhaps maybe one day they want to hold their wedding there, or graduation parties for their children, things that would fit the family lifestyle of the neighborhood.
Talk about that whole area there, because the Cliffs are fairly close to the intersection of Geneva Avenue and Bowdoin Street. You've got some vacant pieces of property around there. You could drive by it, you wouldn't know the Cliffs are there because you can't see the sign unless you're walking, right? Yeah, well,
we're talking to the City of Boston right now, to the department, to hopefully change some of the zoning of those vacant parcels to become parks, so that there would be investment, by the city to update and maintain these spaces. So the Cliffs is a good entry point into the neighborhood, and we need more visibility to create a destination point for people to experience the Afrocentric Latin Caribbean experience that they could have in Bowdoin, Geneva, and increase the economy for the people there.
Now, another potential asset is a few blocks beyond Bowdoin Street in the other direction. You have all these plans for new housing along Dorchester Avenue near Freeport Street, and what about that? I mean, as far as trying to at least get something out of that for people in your business district.
Yeah, the problem with our community is that over 50% of the neighborhood do not speak English at home. So it's a vulnerable, marginalized community, and it's hard to get representation in the civic groups or in other the nonprofit administration. So, we try our best. Our board is 90% brown and black. So we try our best to connect to the neighborhood by advocating for economic basis for ethnic solidarity. So if the residents stay, the businesses can thrive. But we have to increase the household income of the residents so that the businesses can get more revenue. But with those developments, there isn't a formalized process to sort of get the residents heard yet. So we're hoping in the future that we can help with that. And those, we do need more housing in the neighborhood, but we need family housing in the neighborhood. And what organization is going to help Cape Verdeans apply for affordable housing? You need a social service center that can help people and target them, or the Dominicans. It's just a lot of the affordable housing lotteries now are basically, whoever signs up.
It's much more random as opposed to a community. We should mention, if people want some more information about what you're doing, you've got a website for the Main Streets program?
Yes, it's www.bowdoingenevams.org.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Anh Nguyen from Bowdoin Geneva Main Streets. We'll have more news in just a moment.